That's a
That's what
sign of
happens when you don't have a head.
wisdom, Swami.
If
Yes.
you have no head, you need no hair.
Well, it's just, you know, another thing that's abandoning ship, what to do. Well, all right. So we're going with the Peace Pilgrim today, and we're on the chapter called The Way of Peace. We're on page 99 at the very top, starting on the first paragraph today. And of course, just to recap a little bit on Peace Pilgrim, just her dedication to world peace through inner peace, knowing that we can't have outer peace until we have inner peace. And so she's been teaching us about the importance of finding that inner peace, finding our place in the pattern of life, uh, you know, surrendering ourselves to our service and to, you know, to do what is human inside. And so she says here, she starts off, oops. We can work on inner peace and world peace at the same time. On the one hand, people have found inner peace by losing themselves in a cause that is larger than themselves, like the cause of world peace. Because finding inner peace means coming from self-centered life into a life centered in the good of the whole. Right? And this is what Ramakrishna, from beginning to end in his teaching, is trying to get us to make that shift, right? From me and mine to thee and thou, thee and thine, right? To where we stop being focused on ourselves constantly and we put our mind on others and spend our time really losing ourselves in service. I think that is probably why bhakti yoga is the fastest way to God, because of that love that it initiates within us, and because it encourages us to do that, to lose ourselves in the love of the service of our beloved through serving our beloved in everybody else, in everyone else around us. So we cannot uh, be what we can't be serious enough about the efforts that we put into our practice, into getting ourselves purified and getting ourselves focused and getting ourselves thinking of others more than we think about ourselves, which is the big challenge. You know, that whole story of the cow or the calf, you know, that they kill it and eat it, and then they take the skin and they stretch it and then card it and blah 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 blah. And you know, basically Ramakrishna says how much that calf had to suffer from beginning to end. You know, but at first the calf says me and mine, and then at the end, the last piece of tanned hide, when it's plucked on the whatever they made out of it, it says thou, 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 thou. And so that all that suffering and all that process that calf went through was to move him from me. Oh, that's a sheep. Me to thou, right? To where we think of others. And so really our transformation that happens inside our journey is from here to here, right? And the transformation is from here to there, right? That we it's a transformation in unselfishness, a transformation from me and mine to an unselfish life, and that we then lose ourselves in the service of others as a worship of our beloved, right? And so she's saying here that we can lose ourselves when we find a cause larger than ourselves. So our inner peace isn't a cause larger than ourselves, but outer peace is. And so we can lose ourselves in in the development of our inner peace in service of outer peace, in order to help us along on that transformation, that moving from me and mine to thee and thine. So because finding inner peace means moving from a self-centered life into the life centered on the good of the whole. On the other hand, one of the ways of working for world peace is to work for more inner peace, because world peace will never be stable until enough of us find inner peace to stabilize it. Right? So really what she's saying here, and this is the point over and over again, is that if you change on the inside, the externals follow suit. Right? It is you that is lighting the world, and it's the light shining through your ego that you see projected on your mind. And so if that light of ego is diminished, then you see more clearly on the screen of your mind the reality, which means you'll see the motive of love behind things, which means that you'll see, begin to recognize and feel your oneness as your inner atmosphere grows, as that inner atmosphere grows in love and in worship and in presence. Um, when you're around others, it almost seems to come from them, because it is our native uh, inner atmosphere, right? Because we are temples. And so it is natural and normal for the temple to have that inner stillness, that inner sense of sacredness within it. And so we try and nurture that in our lives through our practice and through our studies and through holy company and through our teachers. She goes on, my inner peace remains in spite of any outward thing, right? That is the accomplishment, right? In spiritual life, it's easy to get lots of little touches, little glimpses of spiritual life, little things here and there. But here we have a great teacher who's saying, my inner peace remains in spite of any outward thing. So she has been established in that inner shrine, she has established that inner atmosphere so that it can't be taken away by things that happen outside, by narratives of the mind. She has established herself there. And this is a very important piece. It's just as important as the Enlightenment, really. And I say that because of the way the monks were in Baranagar after Ramakrishna passed away. They were doing so much practice. And I think it was, asked them, the brothers, why are you guys doing so much practice? I thought Ramakrishna gave you everything. And of course they said, oh, he did. But we want to make it our own now, right? We want to be established in it from our own bootstraps in that sense. And so they were working on establishing themselves in that space in the same way that our Divine Mother or Peace Pilgrim is talking about here. Only insofar as I remain in harmony can I draw others into harmony. And so much more harmony is needed before the world can find peace. Oh, here comes Gita Malhotra. So much more harmony is needed before the world can find peace. This doesn't mean that I'm not concerned about world happenings. A time like this calls for much peace prayer and peace effort. All right work, all right work and all right prayer has effect. All good effort bears good fruit, whether we see the results or not. In spite of the darkness in the present world situation, I am not discouraged. I know that just as human life proceeds toward harmony through a series of hills and valleys, so a society has its ups and downs, and it's in its search for peace. That's a very encouraging thing right there, right? That really speaks very strongly about our own time and about the things that we're in here. Let's just read that. She says, in spite of the darkness in the present world situation, I am not discouraged. I know that just as human life proceeds toward harmony through a series of hills and valleys, so a society has its ups and downs in its search for peace. Right? So we can see this our situation in our world right now really as just one of the steps necessary toward our freedom, toward our enlightenment, that this is a period of correction, a period where we're getting taught a hard lesson and having to go through quite a few circumstances to make us think and to reconsider our view of ourselves, the world, and the point of it all, right? And so Mother's putting us through these times, and we need not be discouraged. because everything changes. This is not a permanent thing. This will not leave a permanent mark. You know, the moment is always pure and always free, and the moment is what we're a part of. So we can take a lot of courage in that. She says, there is within the hearts of people a deep desire for peace on earth, and they would speak for peace if they were not bound by apathy or by ignorance, by fear. It is the job of the peacemakers to inspire them from their apathy, to dispel their ignorance with truth, to allay their fear with faith that God's laws work and work for good, right? So these three things right here, what she mentions up top, this is what the job of grace is, right? She says they would speak for peace if they were not bound by apathy, right? So grace pulls us out of our apathy, gives us that inspiration to start again, that reason to get up again, to believe again, to hope again, to try again, right? So everybody would be doing it if it wasn't for that apathy. So we want to overcome our apathy. And then she says with the second one, ignorance, right? Our ignorance. We go in and we do our discernment, right? We do our discernment, shining that light of awareness on all of the different aspects of thought and mind and circumstance within ourselves, right? Putting that light of awareness out there so that Satchit Ananda is empowered to then work out our transcendence, right? And bring us above this ignorance, help us to break this ignorance, to burn it out of us. And this fear, right? It is grace that saves us from fear. It's grace that gives us that divine touch, that divine embrace that says it's okay, right? And gives us that permission to be okay from the top all the way down to the very beginning. And so anytime that we sit in grace, contemplating that, opening up to that, trying to accept it, trying to allow the mind to receive such an amazing gift, right? That grace is what saves us from this apathy, from this ignorance, and from this fear. All the things that we are often reactions to a difficult time, a time where life is not quite as clear as it is at other times. To allay their fear with faith that God's laws work and work for good, knowing that all things contrary to God's laws are transient. Let us avoid despair. Let us radiate hope for a warless world. Peace is possible, for thoughts have tremendous power, right? So peace is possible, and we must insist on it. And, that little exercise that we did in the park a few weeks ago, where it really has been playing in my mind over and over and over and over again. I think that I personally am going to start doing that every week. I'm going to pick a day and go to the park or go down in public anywhere for an hour and just in a very concentrated way, walk around, making myself momentarily available before Mother for service, but to pray for every person that I see with my eyes, to put out a prayer for their well-being and a blessing, just to notice something good and wish the better for them, in everybody. And so just to take an hour once a week somewhere in town where I'm just going to take a walk. I'll probably see if I can take a couple of people with me each time and just walk around town, putting out very focused, good vibes and making ourselves immediately available to anything that we see where we could be helpful, where we could be a positive effect, where we could in any way serve, right? And just learn to make that our habit, do that as a practice of the way that we should be in every moment, of the way that we could possibly live if we could stay mindful of the beauty that we're in, of the harmony that we're in, of the freedom that we have. For thoughts have tremendous power. A few really dedicated people can offset the ill effects of masses of out of harmony people. So we who work for peace must not falter. We must continue to pray for peace, to act for peace in whatever way that we can. We must continue to speak for peace and to live the way of peace, to inspire others. We must continue to think of peace and know that peace is possible. What we dwell upon, we help to bring into manifestation. One little person giving all of her time to peace makes news. Many people giving some of their time can make history. What a what a great catchphrase, right? One person working full time can make the news, but many people working little bits of time can change history. By what? By not being discouraged, refusing to be beaten, right? Peace can happen, harmony can happen. You know, we can heal, we can be loving, we can be unselfish, even in the light of all this nonsense. And as we as spiritual folks, we cannot be broken, right? This light must not be dimmed. We must have a tenacity, a strength to us, a real stubbornness of love, right? To not be beaten, to not get discouraged, to not become cynical, to not become sarcastic, right? But to keep the effort to be pure, to continually let that breeze of the moment flow freely through us, unencumbered by our ego, unencumbered by our hard feelings, by our concerns and our worries, right? But to leave all that lay and let that moment, that pure moment, the moment undefined, the moment utterly free, the moment of love, of wisdom and being, to let that moment blow through us with all of its change continually, leaving nothing, none of the spider webs behind, you know, just washing through us like clean water. So if we can live a life of detachment and service like that, a life of purity and harmony like that, remembering the divine, right? As we detach, right, we don't hold on to anything, then things can flow through us in that marvelous way that the spring breeze blows over you in the summer. It cools you off, you know, in that delightful way. And so just to have that memory, that thought of the beloved, the divine beloved. Just to have a moment and let that blow through you and take out all the dust, all the dross of our struggles, right? To find that joy that we have to feed the world with. That is our nature. We must continue to think of peace. We must continue to know that peace is possible. What we dwell upon, we help to bring into manifestation. What you think, you become, Vivekananda says, right? So what you dwell upon is what manifests. And this is why I'm just getting that sense that that's such a powerful act to do, to just take a walk for an hour and everything that you see, I don't care if it's a dog, I don't care if it's a bush, I don't care if it's a person, bless it. Give it a purposeful, positive sense of thought about it. You know, look at the tree, wish it health, wish it long life, you know, touch it with gratitude and move on, right? And everybody you see, pray for them. May their day be beautiful. May they grow toward you somehow, Mother. May they find satisfaction in themselves somehow. May they be stronger. May they grow in love for their daughter, for their son. You know, just whatever you can think of. And to go around and to keep our minds. Because in this time when there's so many minds out there that are thinking spooky thoughts, you know, thinking fascist thoughts, thinking violent thoughts, ours will make a bigger difference because we'll do it for an unselfish reason, right? So we go out. We are the ones who will change this situation, right? We are the ones who will bring the better world into manifestation because our life is pure. Our hearts are pure. We have been given a pure moment to start freely anew. And so we do continually over and over and over. We will not be beaten by these things. One day a lady said to me, "Peace, I'm praying with you for peace, but of course I don't believe it's possible." I said, "Don't you believe peace is God's will?" "Well, oh yes," she said, "I know it is." And I said, "Well, how can you tell me that that which is God's will is impossible? It's not only possible, it's inevitable. How soon is up to us, right? It's inevitable." And I like the way she talks about this because this is true in all of the aspects of our spiritual life. You know, we will realize God, it's inevitable. We will transcend our ignorance, it's inevitable. We will be free, right? We will find that unity. And this last verse that she says, how soon it's possible, is up to you, right? Your earnestness and your sincerity, Ramakrishna says. That's your accelerator pedal. If you want this search to end more quickly, then be more earnest, be more sincere. That's the empowering point, right? That's what allows that connection to be tight and fully in contact, right? It's you put a little bit of that. I think you spray the sincerity, and then you lather on the earnestness, and then you and God, when you come together, that contact is full, the transfer is complete, and it goes faster. You know, you begin to grow more quickly, and you don't have to say at next year's Q&A session, you know, "I've been doing this for 25 years and I can't get anywhere. What's going on?" Right? Well, what's going on is levels of sincerity and earnestness, right? Dedication to our practice, seriousness about our practice. Yes, indeed. Never underestimate the power of a loosely knit group working for a good cause. That's us. She's talking about us right here. Never underestimate the power of a loosely knit group working for a good cause. All of us who work for peace together, all of us who pray for peace together, are a small minority, but a powerful spiritual fellowship. Our power is beyond our numbers. Indeed, has nothing to do with our numbers. Right? Those who seem to fail pave the way and often contribute more than those who finally succeed. I cannot help feeling grateful to the peace pioneers who worked for peace when the going was rough and there were no apparent results. One of the most common questions asked of me is, "Have you seen any results from your pilgrimage?" The answer is that I've never asked to see results. Right? See how she intuitively is just practicing these paths perfectly, right? Her karma yoga, doing all of this effort, all of this renunciation, uh, all of this pilgrimage. She's just doing it for no results, right? She's doing it as her offering. Now she is wanting to bring about world peace, right? That's her star there for sure. But she's not looking for the results. She's not measuring. She's being available in those terms that I like to use here. She went out there, and by being out there walking with renunciation, walking with purity like that, making herself available like that, you know, that's an incredibly powerful move on her part. And this positivity that she's sharing with us, this mindset to awaken in us this divine ideal, right? So that we can believe the world is not, only dark. There's a great deal of love available out there. We have to get out and fluff it up and make it obvious, allow it to be obvious to us. Right? The answer is that I've never asked to see results. I leave the results in God's hands. They may not even be manifest in my lifetime, but eventually they will become manifest. And believe it or not, I have seen results. Lots of letters from people indicating that they have been inspired to do something for peace in their own way. Anything from writing letters to Congress to making peace with some friend or relation. And it all adds up. Now, as I look back at the overall efforts of all peacemakers, I can see the results. When I began my pilgrimage, people accepted war as a necessary part of life. Now, the peacemakers are on the popular side. When I started out, there was very little interest in the inner search. I could actually make an inquiry at a state college and discover that 2/3 to 3/4 of the students at that time considered themselves agnostic, if not atheistic. Now, I can hardly find a student or person who isn't interested in the deepest kind of searching. To me, that is the most hopeful sign of all. That search, that search for the unknown. Yeah, I just like how she keeps the table clear, though. No attachments, no concerns. She believes strongly. She knows it to be the will of God. Hmm. How's it touching you out there, anyone? What are you thinking about it?
I feel that she started the peace pilgrimage after she realized herself, after she conquered the self realization. With all the knowledge and the wisdom, that's how she could radiate to the world around.
Yeah, yeah,
That's how I feel. She's a very self realized woman, continue
yeah,
to march no matter what, very optimistic, accepting everything as it is, very
yeah.
contented, extremely contented person.
That's it. I'm
That's the way
also,
to live.
yeah,
That's the way to live. It's not easy, but she did it.
yeah. Well, she's pointing out something to me. I've managed to get so discouraged and kind of overwhelmed by these times.
Yes.
And hearing just reading this page from her, I feel a proper little bit of shame. Like, Maharaj, what are you doing? Why are you listening to those voices? Why are you letting them become the narrative? Right? We're free souls. We don't have to accept narratives from outside.
That's right.
We can create a narrative inside, a narrative of love, and we can live it. And we do it through our practice. That's how we make it happen, right? We allow it to be established like that.
Yes.
So just a beautiful shot in the arm is what I'm feeling, and really what I want us to see, to get some encouragement here. Some of this in some of this what she has this uh, unshakable belief
Hmm.
that she knows what we're doing is God's work.
Hmm.
And even though we're a small number, we're a powerful number, right?
Hey, Swami.
Yes, sir.
Um, sir. Uh, it was reminding me of Swamiji talking. I forget whether it was Karma Yoga or Jnana Yoga, but he says that a yogi sitting in a cave who thinks 5 deep, profound thoughts can influence the world more than a whole band of people doing stuff. So it's like she walked this country having these amazing ideas, and now her impact is percolating through. It's really working.
Yeah.
Another thing I just wanted to throw in there is Sri Ramakrishna, Holy Mother, Swamiji, Maharaj, all of them lived in a country that was occupied by a foreign power, the British. And in Swamiji's case, Holy Mother said if he had lived longer, the British would have imprisoned him because of his ideas. Um, and so they all lived in extremely tough political situations. So it kind of that always gives me kind of a perspective on the outward craziness that's going on. Is that okay? All our teachers lived in a situation that was not at all friendly
Mm.
in that political environment at all. I mean, the British were causing mass starvation in India through their forcing of single crops on the people. So there's a lot that we can do.
Yeah, that I
Right.
really I treasure that, Greg. That's an excellent point.
Yeah.
It's funny because I've gotten deluded into this idea that, oh my God, I'm in the worst of times, and oh my gosh, how did things come to this, And it's not the truth at all, right?
Yeah.
And you just look at that when you read the gospel, what do you walk away with? Just a plethora of spiritual intoxication and joy,
Right.
and only just a barely less than a handful of them talking about the British or
Right.
the invasion and the occupation and all of that. It's like
Yes.
how they really there's so many good lessons in here. I'm feeling a lot of correction in myself. I'm gonna
Yeah.
start having to tap my fingers here in a minute. But
And then I
yeah.
think even of my own parents, both of them lived through World War II. My dad was in the Navy, had to do that in his young 20s, and my mom grew up in England where they were being bombed by the Germans.
Mm.
And it's like, okay, we think this is crazy. Yeah, it is pretty crazy, but not compared to what they went through yet.
Yeah, no, it's true. Not at all compared to what they went through. And
Yeah.
and the good times that we remember were after that. They followed all of that.
Yeah.
And so this is good hope. This is good.
Adharma cannot live.
Yes.
Krishna says, whenever a dharma arises, I body myself forth to establish dharma again. So it's like it is unsustainable, a dharma in the big picture.
Yeah, it's self-destructive, isn't it?
It
Yeah.
is. It is.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
and
really is.
we're seeing that too, actually.
Mm-hmm.
We're
We are.
seeing that egoism, if egoism is the root of what you're doing, then
It
that's going to
fails.
attract, yeah, it's going to fail because the people attracted to it are going to be egotistical as well. And egotism always draws lines and separation.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I like this idea. I'm touched here by her notion of seeing herself as a band of world changers, seeing herself as a movement toward this higher ideal. And it kind of makes me I want some of that feeling, I want some of that cohesiveness that those of us who are living this life, that we not be so isolated, that we don't do it so independently, but that we really make our holy company a much bigger part of moving ourself and our ideal forward in that sense.
I
Just
think
in,
she's just living in a moment like that willingness, fearless willingness to expose herself just to the God's grace and just
yeah.
living in a moment. So karma, like this, what I see here and what I hear is like just this like really really balance between karma and dharma. So
Mm.
okay, it is what it is, and karma is unfolding because she meets different kind of situations and experiences and people, sometimes dangerous situations. She's luckily, becoming safe and all good. But then you have this dharma, and she's balancing this two in such a graceful, beautiful way with her faith, exposing herself to the grace of God, and kind of like being in the moment, because that's what it is, because she is not a doer, and she is such an example of not being a doer and
Mm.
practicing but not practicing, right? Being in the
Yeah.
moment, like having a purpose, definitely, because she left the house, she had some idea to do it, but at the same time living in a
Yeah.
moment, and meeting the situation and meeting herself in this very moment when she's going through. It's like so that's what I see, this beautiful like balance between what's happening between karma and dharma. It's like like witnessing those waves kind of, as she's walking. It's just so amazing, so balanced, so beautiful. Everything is there. Everything
Yes.
is.
Yeah, I think you're right. That's actually another excellent point. Which is these are big things that are growing out of this material today. It is. It's very important. This is amazing.
Swamiji, and she also is stamping the piece on every step. So she leaves her trace so it influences the environment.
Yeah.
Because Thich Nhat Hanh said when you walk, if you stamp your foot like you're kissing the Mother Earth, that's meditation. So if she's constantly in prayerful and stamping the earth, so she leaves her footprints and the energy there. I thought that was beautiful. And also to allow ourselves to be happy when things are not outwardly unhappy. Like when things, we tend to also, because of our sensitivity, we tend to sometimes get absorbed in that pain. So this was a very good example of allowing ourselves to be happy in spite of what is happening outside. I have a
Yeah.
tendency to get sucked into the, so that was very powerful. Thank you, Swamiji. And everybody's input about was very astute observation.
Yeah. Yeah. Excellent. All of them. And it is. It's very helpful. It's amazing how big it became, how fundamental it became. Just this. Yeah. Beautiful. Let's see. Where am I? Every time I set it down, I touch the page and it goes, it moves on to the next page. Okay.
We're on page 100, Swami. 100 at the bottom.
Yes. One of the most common questions asked of me is, have you ever seen any results for your pilgrimage? Okay, so we did talk about that one. The answer is that I've never asked to see results. I leave the results in God's hands. They may not even be manifest in my lifetime, right? So she's just not worried. That's why she's not stressed out about whether she's being successful or not. She's doing it for the Lord and letting the Lord do it through her, and she's not getting caught up in it. And believe it or not, I have seen some results. Now, as I look back at the overall efforts of all the peacemakers, I can see the results. When I began my pilgrimage, people accepted war as a necessity of life. Now the peacemakers are all on the popular side. Right? To me, that is the most hopeful sign of all. On the one hand, it can be said, how tragic that our material advancement has gotten so far ahead of our spiritual advancement that we stand on the brink of destroying all life on earth. On the other hand, it can also be said, how good that we finally realize that military victory is impossible, so that immature people and even not good people now have an incentive to lay down their arms. Both statements are true. There is no greater block to world peace or inner peace than fear. Right? Than fear. That's how we get into these situations. You know, when we start calling each other terrorists and start seeing each other as untrustworthy and no longer able to see each other's viewpoints as valid and to learn from each other. We just dismiss and judge and diminish, insult and deepen the barrier between us. So there is no greater block to world peace or inner peace than fear. It has led us to manufacture implements of mass destruction. What we fear, we tend to develop an unreasonable hatred for. So we come to hate and fear. This not only injures us psychologically and aggravates world tension, but through such negative concentration, we tend to attract the things which we fear. If we fear nothing and we radiate love, we can expect good things to come. How much this world needs the message and the example of love and faith. Yes, because this is exactly the principle of that walk in the park the other day. If we fear nothing and radiate love, that's the point of walking and praying prayers for everybody that you see and giving out blessings to everything that your senses present to you. That's putting out the positive, that's radiating the love, right? That's putting your Satchitananda out there, right? And so that removes the fear, right? That was the example, that was the experience of most people that in the park that day, is that they felt integrated. They didn't feel any resistance from people around them, right? There was no distrust. There was nobody leery of them, the two men that joined in and played soccer and then got invited to eat with the family, right? That's just indicative of that. When you go out radiating love, right, and being constantly in the presence, making yourself available for service of any kind, not necessarily intent on doing anything. Who knows if service is necessary, but you are available. And so Mother can pull you in at any moment. And so to do these practice walks where we just make it added to part of your practice in the day. Just say that when you're walking between offices or walking between appointments or when you're waiting at the bus stop, whenever you have these times, japam, of course, is always an option, but also just sit there and start praying for people. Just send out kindness. Say kind things in your mind to everybody around you. Stand at the bus stop and just look at every person. Say something kind, because this will train our minds. This will train us how to be like that all the time. Especially when we start realizing how happy it is to be complimentary, to think positive things, to be praying beautiful things for folks. That itself is going to take you pretty far down the road to your enlightenment, probably more than you expect. Because I really think that's key to really transmogrify our desire for enlightenment, to transform that, or transmagnify, I'm using some cartoon word there, but to transform that desire for enlightenment into a desire for the well-being of others. Turn our desire for freedom, for our own spiritual success, into a desire for everybody's upliftment, right? To get the focus off of ourselves, because that's how life becomes fulfilling, right? It's not that a fulfilling life can never be the point, right? Because to make your own life fulfilling is not going to fulfill you. Your fulfillment comes from helping others. That's the game. That's the trick in the puzzle of Maya, right? That we don't help ourselves by working on ourselves. We help ourselves by loving and working for others. That's where the transformation comes from. Not just us doing our own little practice in our own little room, but by going out and transferring that love of God into love of the world in the right way, into love of people, into love of all things as expressions of God, as ornaments of the divine. And that's the secret to transformation. That's the secret for moving ahead in our spiritual life. Don't get more concerned about your spiritual life. Don't get more concerned about your practice, right? Become more concerned about others and more concerned about how you can encourage their practices and how you can encourage their lives, right? And all the while, knowing that you are growing better at that simply by loving more, by being more in the presence. That's our training, just being in presence. Because we don't need to know anything. We don't need to know what needs to be done. We don't need to know how to do it. We need to be available. That's it. Available with our hearts, available with our arms, and available with our emotions, right? To be blessings to the world. Right? So this hate and fear not only injures us psychologically and aggravates world tensions, but through such negative concentration, we tend to attract the things which we fear, right? If we fear nothing and radiate love, we can expect good things to come. How much this world needs the message and the example of love and of faith, right? So the love we talk about, what she's really reminded me of today is this faith, that it's doable, that we can win, that even though we are a minority of voices, we are the majority of power, right? Because we do not work for ourselves. We're working for the good of humanity, for the good of each other. And we are harmonizing ourselves with the divine will, which strengthens our prayers and strengthens our effect in this world. Peace and freedom, these things shall be. She's got an exclamation point there. Peace and freedom, these things shall be. That's her statement. Boom. This is going to be real. How soon these things shall be, whether now or whether after great destruction and new beginnings and eons of time, is up to us. Right? How quickly this is going to be done, how effectively this is going to be done is up to us. Not that we work harder, not that we make better plans, but what? That we stay firmly established in the presence of the moment, which is in the presence of God, in the presence of the moment, which is the presence of love, the presence of the moment, which is the presence of wisdom, right? So through our inner silence, through our presence in the moment, through our awareness of the divine presence, this is how we accept grace, right? This is how we grow in grace. By going out there and serving and serving and serving and serving and loving and loving and loving and praying and praying and praying and blessing and blessing and blessing, just continually, as a matter of fact, as a matter of being, not as an act, but as an expression of what we are, to let it pour out of us onto the shrine. Much research and experimentation needs to be done on peaceful ways of resolving conflict. We can work as groups or as individuals right where we are, undertaking specific peace projects, commending and strengthening the good wherever we find it. Right? So she's not wanting this to be specific tasks and organized moving forwards. She wants this to become part of just what you are and how you are in the world, so that this isn't a planned movement, right? It's not a corporate advertising exchange. This is us being awake. This is us being present. This is us being powerful because we know ourselves to be children of the Divine Mother, established in grace, established in freedom, right? Established in purity. And we look at Thakur, just one man, living his life as a village priest on the other side of the planet, has changed our lives. Not because of any great outrageous thing that he did, but because in every moment he loved the mother, in every moment he was true to his nature, in every moment he was obedient to his inner voice of Satchitananda, right? His longing was for freedom, for the freedom of everyone. Every night he would lay down and bemoan the fact that he hadn't realized God, but he would also lay down and call out for the devotees. Come to me, my devotees, come to me, right? And Jesus, come to me, all you who are weary and heavy laden, come and I will give you rest, right? And so this is that. And our rest happens in the midst of great work because we know ourselves not to be the doer. And so we're relaxed because we're not collecting anxiety about our plans, because we're not following our plans. We're not making our plans. We're surrendering, we're letting go, and following the plan of the moment as we see it, as it's handed to us in real time. And we go forward, right? Just bent on being free, being loving, being open, being unselfish. This is the fastest path to our freedom. You can only expect to change one nation, your own. After your nation has changed itself, the example may inspire another nation to change itself. If any influential nation had the great spiritual strength to lay down its arms and appear with clean hands before the world would be changed. I see no evidence that any influential nation has such great spiritual strength and courage. Therefore, disarmament will be a slow process, motivated by the wish to survive. The darkness that we see in our world today is due to the disintegration of the things out of harmony with God's laws. The basic conflict is not between nations. It is between two opposing beliefs. The first is that evil can be overcome by more evil, that the end justifies the means. This belief is very prevalent in our world today. It is the war way. It is the official position of every major nation. Then there is the way that was taught 2,000 years ago of overcoming evil with good, which is my way, the way of Jesus. Never lose faith. God's way is bound to prevail in the end. Right? So at the end of the day, this is a spiritual service on her part. She doesn't see it as just a pilgrimage. Right? This is her spiritual service. This is her demonstrating that she is walking in the divine light at every moment. That's what her pilgrimage is. It is that point of light. It's that which makes her unforgettable. Right? Because she just was marching. Nothing clear except that she would keep walking until she was offered shelter. That was her sacrifice. That was her mantra. That was her mala that was keeping her mind on God. I will walk until I'm offered shelter. I will fast until I'm offered food. Right? That was her prayer. That was her determination. That was the absolute for her. And through those two things, she kept her mind on God. She gave of herself to everyone and served her purpose, right? Stayed focused. And I think her impact is only just beginning. Actually, I don't think her impact has even really started yet. This woman is amazing, and she did an amazing thing that has not yet finished its tsunami that she released, I think, by living that way. All right, so we'll stop there for today.